All right, now we're live. So, hello, Nancy and Roger. We're recording for you. So, this assignment, the only thing that I think is kind of confusing is that you have a couple of options for this as far as the video portion. And that means that you can either do 2 short videos or 1 long video, and hopefully by now you've watched the video resources that are on Blackboard. There are 3 videos that explain flipped classrooms, and I'm pretty sure you've probably encountered flipped classroom information before. I know that in the 501 course that I did with Redwood City, we talked about the flipped classroom in that course. We didn't go into a lot of depth on it, but when we were looking at partner learning, that was one of the strategies that we talked about. And theoretically, what happens in the flipped classroom is some, if not all, of the lecture happens, or demonstration happens via video that students watch outside of class. And the flipping part is that instead of going home and doing homework after you've taught a topic or skill or content in class, the flipped part is they get that content or demo out of class, and then they come back to class and actually do what you might have called the homework before. So the homework becomes the in-class application that you're available to supervise and guide and monitor and manage. So some of the questions that I've been getting about the flipped classroom videos are, do they have to be about the skills or content associated with the content standards? And no, they don't have to be. If you are introducing a new piece of a new digital tool, a new piece of technology, you can certainly front load that in one of the videos, or both the videos if you're having them juggle more than one piece of technology or more than one digital tool. But you can definitely front load that as one of your home watching videos for your students. Something else to think about is that with the flipped classroom, the video portion is not always about, the focus isn't always about teaching something away from the classroom so kids can apply it in the classroom. It's also about differentiating instruction. So if you teach a lesson in class and you know you have a handful of kids who you want to enrich or extend the learning with because for whatever reason they're going to finish the assignment fast, or they've already finished the assignment and you want them to take it a step further while you do a remediation with another group of students, you can film a video for that subgroup of your class and have them watch that and move on with deepening their understanding of the content. And the opposite of that is also true, that if you have to remediate with students, or you have students who have been absent, you have some need to differentiate in a particular way for a group of kids who have missed a skill previously, and you see that they're not going to be proficient on this assignment, or they're struggling to be proficient on this assignment because a subgroup of your class haven't mastered a skill, you can use the flipped classroom video to reteach a skill for them outside of the class, and then assign a project as well so that they are brought up to speed for the lesson that you are going to teach with the whole class. So there's just all kinds of applications. It's give content and skill instruction away from class so that you can do the application with them in class, or it can be about differentiated instruction for students outside of class so that they'll be able to access the lesson in class. And it can be content standard related, or it can be ISTE tech standard related. Does that make sense? I'm going to guess that it makes sense.
Yes.
Okay. That I got several questions about that, and so I just wanted to go over it with you. So so anyway, if you do 2 videos, each one has to be 4 to 8 minutes long. If you do 1 video, it shouldn't be any more than 15 minutes. And the assignment frame tells you that's because, and you know this, students have short attention spans. And it's hard enough to keep them on target when you're there monitoring their behavior. But think about it, when they're at home and there's nobody there to tell them to turn the TV off or stop looking at Facebook or don't play that video game right now, right? You're only going to be able to hold their attention, you know, a max of 15 minutes. And I would say that that would apply to upper elementary. You're going to be with the little ones, and Lindsay, you can chime in here, and anybody else who does primary. I wouldn't think that you would want to do anything much more than 4 to 8 minutes for primary students. If there's nobody there to support them, you're going to lose them to any shiny object that passes their field of vision, right? So let's see. So this, in the directions, it says, you know, break the content down into manageable chunks that your students can, it says swallow, but I would say can handle independently. You know, if I don't get it, I'm more likely to go back and watch a short video than a full 30-minute video. And I'm sure that's exactly how you feel when I record those Sunday videos. You know, you want to fast forward through the babbling and get straight to whatever it is that you want to know about. And the kids aren't any different. They just want to get to the part where it tells them what it is they need to know and what they have to do. So keep that in mind. Okay, so highlighted in yellow here, which is different than what you saw if you opened this up before about 4 o'clock this afternoon. I came in and highlighted the due dates. If you create one video, the only video and the lesson plan are due Friday of week 8, and that would be March 4th, okay, by 11:59 p.m. And that gives me exactly 4 days to grade it and everything else you're getting to me so that I can get grades in. I have to have grades in by March 8th for everybody. So so that's why Friday of that week instead of Sunday. And then if you're doing 2 videos, then the only thing you have to turn in week 7 from this assignment is one of the shorter videos. But you have something else due that week, right? You have your grant application due at the same time, right? So and I've gotten a couple of grant applications from people to score, so hopefully I'll get to those very soon this week and I can get them back to you. But if you haven't yet turned in your grant application, remember that not only do you have the first short video due on the 28th, but you also have your grant application due that day. And then your second video, if you're doing 2 short videos, your second video and the lesson plan are due on Friday, March 4th at 11:59. Okay? So there's the course lead. The course lead is not grading your assignment. I am. But the course lead has a real fascination with paper slide videos. And so if you haven't had a chance to watch the paper slide video, that the link, you get a link to right here on the document. I would say it's a combination of low-tech and high-tech. You're screencasting, but you're actually drawing the slides yourself. So,
Robin,
anyway.
I had a question about that. As I watched those videos, you basically need like more than just you doing it. You have to film it, right? I mean, it's not like you can use a tool like a screencaster tool to do it.
Well, if it were me, I would probably I would probably try something like Screencastify and use the webcam. But instead of laying it on a table, I would hold the slides up and move and hold the next slide up. You know, you can also put your web camera from your device down and put the slides in front of the webcam but you have to use a tool similar to Screencastify to do that. But you can use a regular video function on your phone and you know, use your phone to video it and upload it, or your tablet and upload it to YouTube, right? Because you can still do audio when you're videoing from your phone or your tablet.
Right. It just seemed like it was complicated, like it was hard. The couple of videos I watched, they talked about having, you know, somebody is the slider, somebody's the filmer, someone's the speaker, and I felt like that's a lot for, I mean, unless I got somebody to help me, which I'm not sure that that will happen. It just seemed like a lot to kind of keep track of, though I like the idea of it. I mean, I might experiment with it. I haven't decided.
Well, I think that you might assign all those tasks to people if you were doing it with the kids. You know, if the kids were doing a paper slide presentation, but I don't know that an adult would need to have that specifically or particularly if you are if you're doing it as a student sample and you want it to be extremely polished, then you might grab somebody to be the paper pusher for you or to video while you're pushing paper. But all those other roles, I think you might just want to consider if that's an assignment that you're giving to the kids, particularly if it's a group assignment, then everybody can have a role. But you don't have to do a paper slide. You can do you can do a move note. You can do just a regular Screencastify, and I just think that the course lead has a particular affinity for this type of presentation, and so she put it in the assignment template. But you don't need to feel like it's something you have to do. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Sure. So you have to make sure that if you're not using a tool that automatically uploads to YouTube or Google Drive or SchoolTube or Vimeo or something that gives you an embed code as well as a share link, you have to make sure that you upload it yourself. So in the case that we were just talking about, Heidi, if you were doing a paper slideshow and you were recording yourself using your phone. Now, I have my phone set up to automatically upload to Google, and so any video or a picture, any video or photo I take automatically uploads to Google, and since it uploads to Google, it also automatically uploads to YouTube. But it's simple enough if for some reason your phone doesn't do that. Is there anybody that needs to know how to upload video to YouTube? Because I can show you in 2 seconds here if there's anybody that needs to know how to upload. Anybody? No? Okay. That's good. I was on a call yesterday with my practicum supervision class, and I was trying to teach them how to use video over Hangout, and so you guys are much more savvy than the ones in my practicum supervision course, and I have to stop all the time and say to myself and to them, do you need to know how to do this so that we don't get lost along the way? Okay, so back to sharing. You are going to upload your videos to your classroom website. That's part of this assignment. It's not only will you upload a link to the videos in Blackboard, as well as either a link to your lesson plan or upload the doc as you've been doing the last several times, but you also have to go to your classroom websites and embed the videos on them. So that's part of this assignment so that you can practice embedding video. So I'm not going to check. Well, that's not true, because I still have to grade about 8 of your websites. So unless I get a flood of emails in the next couple of days saying grade my website, I probably will look and check to see if you have embedded the videos on your site. If you have all got a video on there from your first assignment, so you've practiced doing that, it shouldn't be a problem. And if for some reason you don't want them up there after the course is done, you can pull them down again. Or you can add a page that, if you don't already have a page on your website that says assignments or assignment resources, you can add a page to your website for that. Okay, so let's see. Somebody misspelled that. So I added to this list Screencastify and Google Hangouts because I think that they're easier to work than the other ones that they have on here. And I'm not even sure Screencast-O-Matic is still operational. I think they got bought by someone. But you can check it out. Jing, I know Jing is still out there, but I think the easiest one to use besides Google Hangouts on Air is Screencastify. And it is a Chrome extension. And you go about finding it the same way that you same way you did MoveNote. You go up to the Chrome waffle and go into the web store and search for it and load it. The only thing is it's not going to show up in your apps list when you are done uploading or downloading, rather, Screencastify. It's going to go in your extension toolbar, which is over here on the right-hand side of the page. And the Screencastify icon is this little film strip, this little guy here. And I found out today that one of the tech people that works at Alameda County Office of Ed, where my office is, has recorded a how to get started with Screencastify. I watched it a couple of times this afternoon. It's very good. It breaks it down very quickly. It's like a 3-minute video, and you can find out how to download it, set it up, and get started in 3 minutes. You know, you'll all be just fine with it if that's what you want to use it for. It has 3 tabs. It allows you to either screencast a single tab that you're in, like this tab that I'm in right now, and it blocks everything else out so you can't see anything except the tab you're in. Or it'll broadcast your whole desktop, and so you'll see everything, and that will include any pop-ups. Or you can disable the tab and the desktop, and the only thing it'll record is your webcam. It'll only use your webcam, and that's what I was saying you could use to do a paper slide presentation if you wanted. You could just use Screencastify and just use the webcam tool on it. Okay, and then of course with Google Hangouts, you would just record like we're doing right now for Roger. Okay, so these are a few of the tools. If you go back to Blackboard week 5, you may recall that there was a whole table in there. I think there were 2 tables of screencasting tools there, and I went through some of them in week 5, and some of them still work and some of them don't work. But if you're looking for more resources, none of these float your boat, then you can go back to week 5 and look at that table and see if there's something you like. Okay? So I'm going to stop sharing for a minute and see if you have any questions at this point. Any questions?
I have one, actually.
Okay.
So when we're doing this, does it, my sound wasn't working at the beginning, but I finally figured it out. Does the whatever we're teaching have to be a tech product, or could I do like a math lesson?
So you just asked the opposite of the original question. And somebody asked, does it have to be content? Can I be demoing with my video a tech tool? And it doesn't make any difference. It's whatever kids, you know, let me just tell you that in the last 2 lesson plans that I read, I actually noted on some of your lesson plans, when are your kids going to learn this stuff? Because you're using tools and you talk about having the students use the tools, but there's nowhere in your activities that say how the kids are going to learn to use the tool. Now, if you put something in your lesson plan that said students have used this tool before, or we'll do a quick reminder with the students of the functions of the tool or something like that, but many of you didn't put anything in there. So I know that you're not just going to hand the tool over to the kids cold. You're going to do some instruction. So these videos could be either on the content standard, or they could be the demo part of your lesson for the particular tools you want them to use, the technology tools.
Great.
Okay?
Thanks.
Sure.
So Robin, does it have to be a brand new lesson, or could it be a part of the one of the lessons that have turning, you know, for the other 2 assignments, you know, to demonstrate the digital tools part?
It has to be a new lesson. It doesn't have to be one that you haven't taught before. It just has to be new to me. Does that make sense?
Okay. Could it be a second part to the lesson?
It could be the
let's
next
say,
lesson
third graders
in the
are working
sequence.
on. Okay.
It could definitely be the next lesson in a sequence. I don't think, I'm trying to remember now, I can't remember if I said this before, but just like in your other lesson plans, I want to encourage you to do a lesson that is either coming up and you know you are going to teach, okay, or do a lesson that you've already taught that you'd like to you'd like to try again next year in a flipped fashion, or don't invent a lesson just for the sake of inventing a lesson. Make it purposeful, make it useful. If it's one you've already taught and you just want to tinker with it, fine. If it's one that's coming up, fine. The only thing is you can't use a lesson that you've already turned in. It has to be something I haven't read already. But it can be the next one in the sequence. Okay?
Okay. And do you need a student sample to go with this one?
Well,
Like
let's
before?
take a look. Let's make a decision about that together by looking at the rubric. Okay?
Okay.
So let me just go through the last part of this, and then we'll take a quick look at the rubric. So you are to develop a lesson plan for your flipped classroom lesson video, select the discipline, area, and grade level, create a lesson that fits into your current teaching situation, and at minimum it should have the following parts: subject, technology, materials list, length of lesson, behavioral objective standards, lesson outline procedures. Don't let this behavioral part throw you. It's still about lesson objectives. I'm not quite sure why they changed the vocabulary here, but it's still about lesson objectives. And what are the activities? How are you going to assess their final product or their final assessment? And then there are 2 lesson templates here that you can choose from. We'll take a peek of those in a minute. So this is just, what comes here is just a rehash of the due dates that we talked about above, and then I just listed the 5 things that need to happen this week and next week here in order. Submit to Blackboard the links to your videos, submit to Blackboard the link or document for the lesson plan. Somebody asked me if I need to see the lesson plan before the videos are filmed. I don't. At this point, I'm pretty sure you know how to use the templates and to backward plan. So I'm going to assume that the videos are aligned with your lesson, right? If you create 2 flipped videos associated with your lesson, you only need to write 1 lesson plan. So the 2 videos, if you do 2 short videos, are for the same lesson plan, okay? I had that question too. I'm not going to be able to do any re-scoring this time. So what happens with the score the first time around this time is what's going to stick. So make sure you're reading the rubric carefully and the assignment carefully before you turn things in, okay, that you've covered everything. And then there are questions to respond to this week, week 7, and week 8 in Collaborize, and we'll take a look at that in a minute. So let me open the rubric here. And okay, so a lot of the content this time on the rubric is about how you do with the how proficient you are in doing the video lessons, right? So that you're providing an introduction in your videos about the topic. Let me ask you real quick, just as I'm thinking about this. Sorry that I'm all over the place, but it just dawned on me. How many of you, I know Lindsay, you've told me you use the teaching channel. Does anybody else use the teaching channel? Corinne, you use the teaching channel? Okay, so here's what I'm going to suggest. Watch a video or two on the teaching channel. I think those of you that are familiar with it, you know what the videos on teaching channel look like, and they're very quick. You can put in any content standard, you can put in any grade level, and you can watch a video that has been prepared on the teaching channel about that standard or skill or content area, and they're brief, and they have paper slide presentations. They have the teacher just teaching. So I'm going to put that on the assignment to check out, but it's the teaching channel. Okay. Let me see if, what do you think, Corinne and Lindsay? Is that a good place for people to take a peek at?
Yeah, I think, I think some of the videos on the teaching channel are, it's not like the paper slide style, but it'd be a good, as far as like the voice goes, I think it'd be good.
So you're not going to be able to hear the video on this, but here I am at the teachingchannel.org, and you can search in the search window here for a topic, but looky here, videos. If you are a 21st century teacher and you haven't checked out the teaching channel yet, this is the time to do it and take a look at how, and what made me think about this is that very first part of the rubric that says the introduction presents the overall topic and draws the audience into the presentation with compelling questions, right? So if you go and take a look at those videos that are on the teaching channel, they all start in that manner. So all of a sudden when I was reading that again, I thought, teaching channel. So check a couple of those out. Look at the length, look at how they're presented, listen to the scripts, and you can go in and put something in at your grade level and content area, and hopefully you'll find a new tool that you maybe can't live without. So citations, attributions, that kind of thing. If in your lesson you you need to credit somebody else's work, you can have a slide at the end of your presentation. Your the end slide can have the citations in it. Okay. Flipped technology, that your transitions are smooth. Make sure you don't have any extraneous noise. Sound is consistent. The length keeps the audience engaged. That you have a well-rehearsed video. Basically what this has to do with is that at minimum you have note cards for yourself, or you've put notes on the slides for yourself. At maximum, you've scripted it out a bit, if not all the way, so that you know exactly what you're going to say. And I will admit that I am the last person to do that. I was sharing some videos with my class last night that I've been doing for the new ESSA legislation, and I should have scripted them better after listening to them. Okay, lesson plan elements. So this is going to get at the question about the student sample. So you need to make sure that the core and ISTE standards are included in the lesson plan, and there needs to be a materials list. So in the last rubric it said a detailed list of materials, resources, instructional materials, resources, and technology used. This one just says all materials necessary for student and teacher to complete the lesson are clearly listed. So, so this is another question I've gotten. Some of you have been putting, instead of including a list, you've been putting everything in a blend space wall. And that's okay. I'm fine with that as long as somewhere in your lesson plan you write something that says all the necessary materials for the student and teacher to complete this lesson are included at this blend space canvas or at this blend space link or whatever. So you have to explicitly state that so that I know. Okay? Okay, so then same kind of stuff. Instead of spreading it out over an entire rubric, you know, you have to have learning objectives. They have to be specific, measurable. Learners have to have a clear understanding of what's expected of them. Instructional strategies need to be appropriate. Assessment methods are measurable and observable. So this is the question here. Somebody said, do we have to have a student sample? So read this that I just put in yellow, and you tell me what you think that means.
Learners can determine what they should know and be able to do as a result.
Sorry, let me put it back.
Distraction.
Everybody had a chance to read that? So let's talk about that. Does that mean a lesson sample? Does that mean a sample of some sort? What do you think that means?
Learners can determine what they should know and be able to do as a result of learning and instruction.
I mean, I think you could look at it two ways. You could look at it, yeah, you need a sample, or you could look at it if the rubric is clear enough with expectations and your instructions on what they're doing is clear, then maybe you don't need a sample. I don't know. I mean, I could lean in either direction.
So I've done this before. I've done this with my other classes, and when the criteria is somewhat open-ended, I let you make the decision. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 out of 12 of you here tonight. So you guys get to make the decision, and I will put it out to everybody else. Does it mean that you should have some sort of sample for your students to see what what they're going to be assessed in creating, right? Or does it mean you just have to have a very explicit rubric? And by that I mean I have been getting some rubrics that just say in the proficient level, student meets or exceeds the criteria for this assignment. And at the you know what? Do you get what I'm saying? Is that there's really no detail about what the product looks like other than meets or exceeds, or doesn't meet or exceeds, or barely meets, or almost meets, right? So if you're going to decide that it only requires a rubric, then the rubric has to be pretty detailed, right? But if you're going to, if you want to keep with a somewhat generic rubric, then you probably are going to need a student sample. And then there are others of you that have very, very detailed student samples and very, very detailed rubrics. And I think, you know, the kids, the students can certainly hit the target with that kind of information. So again, think about application in your classroom, because this isn't meant to be just busy work. You know, it's meant to be something you can go back and do in your actual classroom. So what would you do?
You know, I'm kind of torn because with middle schoolers, if you show them anything, they copy it. And I'm trying to really instill, innovation in my classroom. I want to know what they're thinking because they're usually right. They just say it differently than I do, and that's what I want to see. So I hesitate sometimes with student samples. But I'm easy either way. Whatever everybody votes for, I'm fine.
I've done different projects different ways. Sometimes I go with just like the detailed rubric and expectation. It kind of depends on the project. And then sometimes I would give them a sample. But I'm with Nancy sometimes also, because I feel like once you give them samples of things, they do tend to want to copy that and not maybe come up, with an original idea. So I think, like, that's why I said I could kind of look at it both ways, depending on what my outcome is going to be, what my end product is.
I agree with Heidi. I think it's really project dependent. I mean, like the way I'm seeing this right now is we're just about to get into a new math unit, and rather than me going over vocabulary and all that stuff at school, I think it would be cool to do kind of an intro lesson with the video, whereas there isn't really an end product like, some of the past projects we've done where there's had to be a student sample. So for that, I'm not seeing it, but for other projects, I definitely think, they benefit from seeing kind of what the end goal is.
Anybody else?
I'm not really sure what I'm going to do yet, so it's kind of hard for me to determine that right now.
Yeah, and for me, I'm hoping to review, the tools in Google Slides and Google Drawing, because they've been trying to use that for a while, and they still have a lot of questions. So I don't really have another project for them to work on, but it's rather like a review. So if they still have questions, they can just go to the website and find out how to make a toolbox, how to change the line color, stuff like that.
Okay, I just want to remind you that you're doing a lesson plan and that the rubric and the student sample, if you were to do it, would be based on it would be the product that they would be creating after instruction, just like any other lesson you've done so far. The flipped video part is your instruction part. It's not what the kids are having a rubric about, right? That it's the input that you're providing for students. And the reason it's flipped is that they're going to view it on their own independently. So regardless of what your video is, there is some application back in the classroom. And your lesson is capturing that application, and you are developing a rubric that clearly supports that application and the resulting product of the entire lesson, that includes watching the videos independently and any other guidance that you give them. And they are going to produce something in the classroom as a result of applying what you have taught them through the video. So the rubric is related to that product they develop when they apply the learning. So I'm fine with not having a student sample, but don't get confused. The rubric isn't about how they listen to your video. The rubric is about the product they create as a result of applying the learning that you have presented in the video. right? Just like in the other lessons that you've developed. Okay, I'm going to say that the overriding opinion is no student sample this time, but a robust rubric, right? And clear guidelines, right? Is that what I'm hearing? I heard from 4 out of 8 of you, and no objections from the other 4. So I'm going to assume that's where you want to go. Yes? Let's weigh in on the side. If that's what you're good with, then everybody put it in the chat.
How do you do a chat?
1, 2, 3, 4. Are you on an iPad or a computer? You're on a computer?
iPad.
Oh, okay. Tap
iPad.
your screen. You're going to have to run your hand over the screen until you get the toolbar, and it'll pop up with a little blue, like, text bubble. And when you tap the text bubble, you'll get the chat down the side.
Send a message?
No, you should. You may have to just drag your finger around the perimeter of your iPad, and you should get at one place you'll get. Let me see if I can screen share my screen. Now, don't panic, everybody, because I do know it's going to telescope, but it's the only way I can show you. Okay, so Mei Yi, up in the corner here, you see on the left where I am, way
Yes.
up at the top. When you drag your finger or tap your finger around your iPad, eventually you're going to get this toolbar, and you're going to have this blue text bubble, and that's the chat. And when you tap that, you'll get to see everybody else's chat. But I'm looking and I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I did a flipped classroom lesson in the Collaborate project. Can I use the same lesson and expand on it more? I prefer that you did a new lesson. Okay? You can, as I said to Mei Yi, you can do the next lesson in the sequence if you want, but I prefer to see a new lesson plan this time. Okay? All right, so I will I'll send a little email out with the link to this video tonight, letting folks know that a student sample isn't required this time, but very clear guidelines and slash directions, as well as a robust rubric would take the place of that this time. Okay? So let me go and show you real quickly the 2 lesson plan templates. And let's see. So this one is a truncated version of the one that most of you have been using the last couple of times. Let me just make this a little bit bigger. I don't need to make it quite that big. Try one more time. It's not going to let me do it. All right, fine. So the only thing that's a little different this time is you're going to mark whether this lesson is an introductory lesson, whether it's a lesson within the unit that's in the middle or continuing the development of the concepts and skills, or if it's a ending lesson, a culminating lesson, it's completing the instruction in a unit. Okay, so here's where you can put your content standards, your ISTE standards, your goals, your essential questions, your student learning objectives, the performance tasks, other evidence. I made a whole new row for you for a detailed list of materials, resources, and technology, and then a listing of the learning activities. I left a space here for the rubric, and I left a space for references if you need to cite other people's work. Okay, so this should look pretty familiar. It's just kind of a truncated version of the one you've had up to this point. This one is the one that the course lead actually included with this lesson. And it's a little bit different than what you have been doing. I think it's fine, but if they've been having you use the backward planning template for weeks 3 and 5 and then suddenly change the template, I didn't want to make that a necessity. You know, you can, if you want to use this one, it's perfectly fine. If it works better for you, that's fine. You have the option of using either one. So again, name of lesson. This one says length of lesson, and what that means is, you know, how many class sessions are you going to need for this lesson? If you're in middle or high school, and that even depends on whether or not you have blocked class periods. But it's basically, you know, how many class periods of that particular content area is it going to take to accomplish this lesson? Is it an introductory lesson, again, in the middle of the unit, or a culminating lesson? And here you see, this one says behavioral learning objectives, but again, these are just learning objectives. Don't get confused by the new terminology on this particular template. ISTE and core content standards, academic language and vocabulary for this lesson, which I really like that this is in here. And Corinne, you said that you want to do the focus of this particular lesson on academic vocabulary as it fits into a unit overall, and you know, this might be a good template for you to use because it specifically calls that out. Lesson rationale, and I think I said in the Sunday video, don't let the rationale part freak you out. What this really is what you're thinking about the lesson. Why is it important now? Why does it come at this point? Is it, you know, where is it? What have they been learning to this point, and how does this lesson fit into the scope and sequence of their work through the year? You know, it's your thinking about your thinking, your metacognition about this particular lesson. What prior knowledge do the kids need to have now? In good lesson plans and unit development, you are always thinking about this, and I mentioned it in the Sunday video. Every year you teach a lesson, and it may happen every lesson, and you say, you know, every year the kids come to me and they don't have this skill, or they don't understand this vocabulary, or this, you know, the prior grade level didn't get a chance to get up to this concept, or get to this concept before the end of the year. If you know that, and it happens all the time, then here's where you put that information in, and you pre-teach it. And guess what? You could use a video to do that, right? Instead of giving up class time. If there are some common misconceptions that happen every single year with this particular lesson, then, you know, take care of that in an assignment that you send them home, you know, with a video that they watch independently. Here's where you put the technology in. Here's the classroom management considerations. So, you know, how many iPads am I going to need? How many Chromebooks am I going to need? Are we going to allow students to use their own devices if they bring them? Am I going to have to get somebody to come in and sign the kids in with their usernames and passwords? You know, all that stuff that if you're using technology, you have to kind of figure out before you even embark on the lesson. Because as you know, that can suck up time faster than anything else. Okay, here's where you list your activities. And you don't list them in this shaded box. This is just giving you some prompts for filling out the anticipatory set, then how you're going to develop the lesson and how you're going to close it. Okay, and again, rationale just means you're thinking about your plan, why you're doing things the way you are, why you're sequencing it that way. Elicit questions to elicit higher thinking. Evaluation, again, these are, the shaded part is just information about your evaluation plan. And then any kind, and that would be your rubric, by the way. It's called an assessment plan in here, but that would be your rubric. And then here is a place for you to write down, and a lot of you have been including this in your lesson plans, how you're going to differentiate or accommodate students with special needs, whether they're English learners or they're hearing impaired or they're students with particular needs based on their 504 or their IEPs. This is where you're going to call out how you're going to support them in a differentiated manner. And again, just like I said at the top of this broadcast, this could be where you did one of your videos. Particularly if, let's say you have a group of ELs that need extra support. One of your videos can be something that they can watch out of class that gives them extra support with the academic vocabulary. Okay? Lots of ideas. So this is the other template. Okay, so I think we've covered everything that's in here. I'm going to stop sharing. Okay, so we've gone through a lot, and you all have played with screencasting, so this won't be the first time for you. You've all done backwards lesson planning. That won't be a first for you. What may be a first, and it may not for some of you, you may actually be making use of videos that you're sending home with kids, or maybe you're using Khan Academy videos, or maybe you're using Teaching Channel videos with your kids already. You just haven't recorded a lot of your own. You may have some practice with this, but the real intent of this particular lesson is that you, if you haven't played with this before, that you now play with doing the recording yourself. And you've done a website, so now you've come kind of full circle. If you wanted to, you could develop your website so that you were posting your assignments and lessons there, and students can go pick up the videos, and you would be starting your own little mini Khan Academy on your website. Right? And every year you can send kids back, when you go to that lesson, you can send kids back to those videos and say, you know, here's the link on the website to the video you're going to use for this assignment.
Hey,
There's
Robin.
lots of potential. Yeah.
This may be, I mean, just a more personal question, but so when thinking about the product, and if I'm doing it in like a way, like I said, where I'm kind of introducing a topic, could the product be that, like, the practice problems that we're going to do together the next day? Or does it need to be like a more substantial project?
You mean something like a worksheet?
But that, I mean, like, I feel weird saying a worksheet, but yeah, I mean, I guess like real work problems that we would work on together, or in small groups, and then have like an exit ticket be an assessment.
I think that that would be okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Just your rubric then would be, how would you judge whether or not by that exit ticket the student understood the content or has to be retaught?
Right, right. Exactly.
Anything else? So, Very, did you, you might have missed me talking about the learning objective and the behavioral objective earlier. Do you need me to go over that again? Okay. Anything else? I'm trying to think if there's
that.
Go ahead, Mickey.
Yeah. Did you say that you have already graded all the other assignments from assignment 1 through 6? I have not received my grade for 6.
6 is the grant?
No, sorry, 5. The collaboration.
There are still, I have 4 left to grade, and 3 of the 4 I couldn't get into. And 1 I just haven't scored yet. So you're just probably one of the ones I couldn't get to by midnight last night.
Okay, because you couldn't open one of my assignment folders the other time. I want to make sure this one is okay. I want to make sure you can actually open it.
I actually got through almost all of them on Sunday night, and except for 1, and I just couldn't finish the last one Sunday night, but I had to send off emails to 3 people saying that the links that they sent me didn't work. And I sent directions on how to change the link so that I could get into it. And since then I've scored a couple of those, and I think I only have 3 left to do of that. And then I have 2 grants. 2 people have sent me grants, and then I have 25 logs of hours from my practicum supervision. So I'm trying to get them all in, and I'm going to be spending a lot of time in a hotel room. So I'll probably get them done.
Don't mean to rush you.
No, I don't like having them. I want to get them done and back to you. But, you know, as I mentioned, it takes me 45 minutes to an hour to score them. And so I spent all day Sunday on them, and then I bump into some walls where the links don't work, and I try 5 or 6 different ways to get in, and then I send emails, and then I get them back, and then because I've graded part of it, I want to see the rest of it. And so, yeah, it's sometimes a challenge in a tech class. You know, in a regular class, when you just send a paper in, I just read a paper. But when it's got all the different parts, and some of the parts, when there are 3 or 4 different links, and not all the links work, and they're not all put in one document, it sometimes is a challenge. So I'm nearly done with week 5, and I have 2 grant applications, which I hope to get graded and handed back to the people that have submitted them this week, too, in case you want to make any revisions. Any questions on the grant applications? As long as that's still hanging out there? Yeah, go ahead, Mary.
I do. Okay. So I already emailed you about how Donor Choose, you know, has their own way of asking questions, and they might not meet the same requirement as the rubrics. And you suggest that I do my grant on the doc and turn it into you, right? So when I turn in my doc, the application on the Google Docs, do you want the headings to be the questions from the rubric, or do you want the questions to be from Donors Choose, you know, the actual application?
You can do it from Donors Choose.
Okay.
You can use their headings, and remember, and maybe you don't, but the week that I did the recording, and then I sent you the update that I'm trying to remember her name. The other course lead did, and she said that if you don't do the Orange County Seeds grant, which the rubric is based on, then the instructor will use their judgment basically to make sure that looking at the grant application that you did select, right, that everything that was asked for was covered. Okay? And so that's what I'll do. If you don't use the OCCUE Seeds grant, then I'll look at what the grant asks you to do, and I will score accordingly. Okay?
Okay.
And you're going to get that back pretty quickly, particularly if you send them to me this week. If you send them to me this week, then I can get them back, and you'll have a little bit of time to resubmit them by Friday, March 4th, if you want to. And I've already had 2 or 3 people resubmit their week 5 lesson, because I did score several of them, like I said, by Sunday, and people have already resubmitted them to get better scores. Okay, I sent Donor Choose Org an email today because their user agreement states that you cannot share funds. I was planning on working with Ms. Garcia, but I am not sure that Donors Choose will allow it. Well, I think that what that basically means is you can't do a sub-grant. I don't know if it means that you can't partner to do the grant, but if that's the case, Corinne, I know that there are a lot of you that have already done Donors Choose. Does it specifically not allow you to, what if teachers are co-teaching?
I don't know if any, I didn't remember any restrictions, but I don't think I was also looking for it. So, I mean, I think as long as you make it clear that, you know, it's benefiting the students, I'm not sure. And if it's under one account versus 2,
Well, and you could always work together to write the grant and post it separately.
On one, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They wouldn't know.
So, I mean, that's what I would do. If it says it's only one teacher, one account, then you work on it together, and then you each post it with your name on your account, and hopefully get twice as much. Okay? Any other questions about the grant? Okay, so the only other thing I wanted to tell you, I've already posted the questions for Collaborate Classroom for week 7 and week 8. And I actually scored most of you on your contributions to Collaborate last week. I was waiting for, if you haven't gotten your grade on the discussion board yet, it was because by the time I finished scoring those on Sunday night, you still hadn't put your last comments in, but I'll take a look at it tonight. I think there were 3 of you that hadn't finished your responses. There is, this week, week 7, you are still required to respond to the prompt initially with your initial comments and then respond to 2 of your peers. But week 8 is just, you don't have to respond to your peers. It's just a question about how was the course for you. And it's more or less, did you get anything out of it? Was it helpful? You know, it's just a prompt to find out how you survived. And I'll certainly look at it and adjust what I do. I'm not going to be your Spring 2 professor, but they have asked me to be your Summer 1 professor. So, so I will. Hopefully that's good news. I'm glad 2 of you are thumbs upping there. So we'll probably be together your last course before the summer break. And and I was going to start the doctoral program. They were going to start a doctoral program in Stockton, and they wanted me to do the curriculum instruction and assessment course, but unfortunately the cohort has fallen through. They're not going to start it this spring too. So that gives me just the practicum course to have to worry about in spring 2, and then in summer 1 I'll probably be back with you, and it'll be asynchronous again, and we'll we'll learn from this particular course and try and improve it then, and we can still do hangouts and that kind of thing if you need them, and work through problems with assignments and rubrics together, and hopefully it'll be a great experience for all of us. So I meant it too when I said in the Sunday broadcast that I learned a lot from you. I always do. Every time I teach an ed tech class, I get as much out of it as hopefully I share. And you guys keep me moving. You keep me from becoming a fossil. And I appreciate that. I appreciate it. So if you have any questions over the next 2 weeks, you need any help, give me a call, text me. If you want to hang out, I can do that as well. But otherwise, this is probably the last time we're going to be talking live. So have a great couple of weeks, and I will hopefully get to talk to you soon. Okay?
Thanks, Robin.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Okay.
Robin. Good luck, everyone.
And,
Thank you.
Okay.
and thanks,
Good
everybody.
night.
Bye.
Bye.